Most people think of Vikings as raiders, warriors, and explorers who dominated the seas and struck fear across Europe. But what rarely makes it into documentaries or classroom history is how they survived the brutal winters of the north. Beyond the sagas, beyond the longships, the Vikings mastered the art of everyday survival in ways that remain astonishing even today. Their homes, longhouses, were often far warmer and more livable than many stone-built European houses of the same era, even when the hearth fire burned low or went out entirely. This wasn't luck, and it wasn't magic. It was the result of ingenious engineering that relied on careful observation of the land and an intimate understanding of natural materials. For anyone interested in survival, off-grid living, or historical reconstruction, understanding this technique is a window into both Viking life and sustainable design. Vikings built their homes with warmth in mind, starting from the ground. Unlike many contemporaries, Vikings did not place floors directly on stone or bare earth. Their longhouses were low, elongated structures, but the real secret to comfort lay below the top layer. Archaeology across Scandinavia, Iceland and Greenland reveals a consistent method-layered floors designed to trap heat, provide insulation, and harness the steady warmth of the earth. You know, the ground naturally maintains a near-constant temperature throughout the year. The challenge for any northern climate, though, is not just the cold air, but also heat loss through the floor. Vikings, well, they solved this with a multi-layer system that combined earth, organic materials, and in some cases wooden planks to create a living floor that functioned as passive heating. The secret of the layered floor system is, honestly, simple but brilliant. The base of the floor was compacted earth. This provided a firm, stable foundation and allowed the floor to act as a thermal mass, slowly absorbing and releasing heat. On top of this, the Vikings placed a thick layer of straw, dried grasses or brush. This organic layer trapped tiny pockets of air, acting as insulation, much like, well, modern wool or foam materials. In regions where resources allowed, they added wooden planks or sifted soil as a top layer, creating a surface that was comfortable underfoot while still allowing the warmth from below to rise. In some Icelandic settlements, turf blocks were placed atop the layers. The floors weren't just insulating, they stored heat over time. What made Viking floors exceptional was their ability to retain and radiate warmth long after the fire went out. Even a small hearth would slowly heat the packed earth and the organic layers above it. Once warmed, the floor released that heat steadily, keeping the interior livable during frigid nights. This is the same principle behind modern heated floors, yet the Vikings achieved it without electricity, pipes, or advanced technology. Human and livestock presence added to the effect. The heat from bodies contributed to warming the layers, making longhouses surprisingly comfortable even in the dead of winter. Cold isn't the only challenge in northern climates. Moisture is a silent enemy, sapping warmth from your body faster than the temperature itself. Vikings ensured their floors could breathe. The straw and brush layers allowed moisture to pass through rather than being trapped, reducing mold and preventing heat loss from evaporation. Livestock often shared part of the longhouse, and their body heat helped dry the floor from below. It was a system that balanced insulation and airflow, a natural solution that, honestly, modern off-grid builders often struggle to replicate. For survivalists, historians, or, well, anyone experimenting with primitive structures, the Viking approach is remarkably practical. Start with compacted earth as the foundation. Then add a layer of dried straw, grasses or brush, thick enough to provide insulation without collapsing under weight. On top, use wooden planks, a fine layer of packed soil or turf chunks with root systems intact. Once the floor is warmed by a small fire or even just human presence, it begins to radiate heat steadily. Over time, the organic materials compress, improving insulation and stabilizing interior temperature. This method is ideal for small cabins, root cellars, earth-floored workshops, or primitive shelters. It is low cost, low maintenance, and honestly, incredibly effective in cold environments. The Viking floor method shows ingenuity beyond combat or exploration. The real brilliance of this technique lies in its simplicity and adaptability. Vikings didn't need rare materials or complex tools. Instead, they relied on observation, experimentation, and, well, the materials the land provided. Soil, straw, brush, turf and timber were abundant, and they understood how these layers could work together to create warmth and comfort. This knowledge ensured that their communities could survive harsh winters and allowed them to thrive in some of the most challenging climates in Europe. Their homes were as much a feat of engineering as their ships or fortifications, and they reveal a level of environmental intelligence that deserves recognition alongside their more famous achievements. If this deep dive into Viking ingenuity has inspired you, don't stop here. Subscribe to Warfront Survival for more practical, historically accurate survival insights from the past. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, builders and off-grid experimenters, and help us uncover the forgotten knowledge that kept people alive and thriving in some of the toughest conditions on Earth.